at the movements and then kind of break down what's going to be required for those movements within the body.
Okay, so you start with looking at kind of the specific warm-up and how you're going to... Okay. Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
I start from the back and then get through the workout and then go to the front and work my way towards
You do the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I'm going to talk to you about, the outside inwards approach. And this is just one way of writing a lesson plan. We're not here to tell you exactly what to do. You have to find your own path. But this is a great way to start if you've struggled. So we'll use today's workout as an example. We've got the timeline. 60 minutes. And what do we know about the length of the workout today? What's the general time frame of this?
Under 15.
Under 15. So we've got, what's the lower end? 8. Okay, 8 to 15 minutes. That's really important to know. And we'll talk about how we get to that as well, which is really a good little exercise to do by yourselves. Like hop on crossfit.com or just like make up workouts and try to figure out these time frames. 8 to 15 minutes. How long does your intro usually take? 3 to 4. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and do 5. Why am I doing 5 if I know it's only going to take 3?
Give yourself some extra.
Yeah, wiggle room. You've got your stragglers, you know. If you do a question like you did today, I would go to like 15 minutes. I am like the worst person for the intros. I'll just talk to people all day. But so great, if you don't need it, don't take it. But it's in your plan. It's giving you a little breathing space. And in any given day, how long do we want at the end in a perfect world?
Plan for 10 and you might get 7.
Yes. I caution you on 5. Why?
Because people will take longer and people take breaks and go to the bathroom and transition time takes way
Well,
longer.
what happens at the end of, like you're done with the workout and you have 5 minutes left.
Clean up.
But even before that, what's happening?
People are laying around on the ground.
They're laying down. And you know, you can also be like, look, you get 60 seconds and you're up. Stop feeling sorry for yourselves. You can do that. But if you've just done if you've asked a lot of them, because when I'm coaching, I'm like, I'm going to ask a lot of you. We're going to push today. But I'm going to give you your 2-3 minutes to layer and do your thing and roll over to your friend and ask them what they got. And I'm going to give you that. But I can't do that if I only have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to plan for like 10 minutes. And I will tell you that sometimes I steal from that time. If something went wrong in the middle of the plan, and that's great, that's why I have a lesson plan. But I'm going to go for like 50, which is what Lauren did today in her classes, which was great. 15 minutes is always gone in any one of your lesson plans. In a 60-minute class, just start thinking about it in terms of a 45-minute class. That's kind of what it is. Now we're taking off 15 minutes, right, for your workout. So this is that outside inwards approach that Houston was talking about. So in here you've got your workout. In here you've got your post. What happens here?
Break. Transition.
Yeah, all the nervous peas. And how long do we need?
3 minutes.
Well, let me ask you a different question. What will determine the length of the break? Class size? What else?
What the movement might happen to be in the workout. People will go grab their knee sleeves or jump ropes, they'll get their pee-pees out.
Yeah, they'll do everything. So there's the number of people in class, the more people you have, the more bathroom, more transition, more getting around. If you're looking at your class and you're like, these are some pretty heavy hitters here, they're probably going to get the bathroom and come on out. Or you might have a lot of new people. You're going to need a little bit more time. Maybe there needs to be some logistical maneuvering of like equipment. Maybe the bar's too close to the pull-up bar and whatnot. And a lot of the times, you guys have a lot of space here. It won't be an issue, but tonight, that 4 or 5 o'clock class, if you had a box and a barbell and a rower all out, you're going to be hustling trying to move around. So there's somewhere between 3 and 5 minutes. When I was at Reebok, I would always schedule 3 minutes. But at CrossFit New England, I scheduled like 7 minutes. Because I had these ladies in my group, I call them the chatty Cathys. I have to tell them at like here, I'm like, go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. They would be in the bathroom and they would take forever. And I'd say, all right, 1 minute. I'm always doing time. All right, 2 minutes, 1 minute. And they'd be chatting, and then I'd be like, 30 seconds. And they'd be like, oh, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, you know, so depending on who it, and it's fun. I'm like, you can't get upset with them, but you've got to know that you've got those people, and that's okay. Just give them a little bit more time. So I'm going to do 5 minutes. Okay, now we've got 25 minutes. What happens next? Break. We've got a general warm-up and a specific warm-up, but how do you think, what do you think is the next thing I should be thinking about in terms of prioritization?
The specific one.
Yeah, why specific before general?
Because general is just to get your heart rate up. The specific is to teach the movement.
Yeah, I am, and whatever time I have left, I'm going to make up some general thing, but that's not the priority. So we've got a wall ball and a kettlebell. I mean, you tell me, is there a preference in those two? Are they kind of similar in terms of what we're looking for? Which one goes first, which one goes second? There's no right answer.
2 different shapes. You have like a squat and hinge, so I focus on squat.
Okay, yeah.
I typically go with what has more reps.
Okay, why?
Performing more reps of, like for like today.
Yeah, you do the thing that has more reps first. Yeah, okay. There's no wrong answer. Honestly, it's just what works for you. If I was going to do this workout today, I think I would probably go with the squat first, just because it's a longer range of motion, that wall ball. And if I can warm up the squat, I'm also warming up the flex thing. That's just what I'm thinking. But you could go either way, honestly. But let's say that we had like a heavy snatch. Let's say it was a 185, 125 pound snatch and handstand push-ups. It was a coupler. What goes first, what goes second, why?
I'd probably go with the snatch because it's a more complex movement, and not a lot of people are going to be able to do the handstand push-up. You still teach it, but also give the scales.
So you'd spend more time on the snatch?
I think I would.
Which one would you do first?
Probably do the handstand push-up because you can get through that faster and then spend a little more time and have questions.
There's a better reason, you're onto something, but there's a better reason than you can get through it faster, because, I mean, you're going upside down and people are, you know, ping-ponging off their head. Hopefully not, but it's a pretty legit movement.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a gymnastic movement, though you're moving your body through space, whereas the snatch is your body and an external object. So the way I see something that's got a heavier component to it, not always, again, it depends, but I think if it was snatch and handstand push-up, I would start with the handstand push-up, do some floor drills, like get the wrists, shoulders, regular push-ups, start to elevate, get people kicking upside down. It's like, even people that can bang out handstand push-ups for days are gonna get value from holding these positions, these planche positions, and you can make them real hard. It can be a skill session for those fire breathers. And then eventually you get upside down and you do your thing. That could take 10, 15 minutes. But if you've got a heavy snatch, you've got to build them up, you've got to load them up, and then they've got to get practice reps in at that weight. That's going to take a significant amount of time. So in a day like that, today we're like, okay, we've got 2 complex movements. I'm actively choosing to spend less time on the handstand push-up because we really need to make sure you're not just dive bombing under that ball with load in your hand. And if you do the snatch last, it's fresher before the workout. Imagine like building up to a 185, 125 snatch or whatever's heavy for you guys, and then you leave that bar there for a second, and we're gonna go over here and spend like 15 minutes on a handstand push-up, and then we're gonna be like, all right, move that. So it's always a nice thing to have them just finish on the thing that actually requires a little bit more attention, and then go into your practice round. So for today, I'll go from what Lauren did. So we did kettlebell swing, and we did wall ball. And how long do you want to spend on the kettlebell swing?
2-3 minutes.
It's not a lot, right?
Yeah.
I would give 5 just for getting your equipment. Just, if you don't need it, you don't need it, but and we're not going overhead. So it'd be very different if we're going overhead. We're not going overhead. Kettlebell swing. And how long on the wall ball?
10 minutes.
Like 10 minutes. So we're at 15. And again, it might be 7, but if you buffer for 10, not a big deal. And now we've got how long? 10. intro.
Oh, that was in
That intro.
That's whiteboard.
Yeah.
Oh, 0 to 5 is the whiteboard?
Yeah.
See, like, for us, like 0 to 5 is circle time, names, questions, so then whiteboard time gets taken out of somewhere else.
And it's the same thing.
Right.
The intro for me is all encompassing. It's and again, this is one way. So I know some gyms start with a little thing, and then they do general, and then they do whiteboard. You can plug and play wherever you want to do that. I'm just super old school classic CrossFit, and it was the whiteboard or the circle thing. I would do all that. That's the intro for me. It's like, hey, do the little question. Let's talk about the workout. Just very bare bones. And we got an 8-15 minute workout. We've basically got 150 wall balls with some grip stuff in between with the kettlebell swing. Some of you guys are going to be closer to 8, while others should be reaching for 12, roughly. We'll give you some more insight on how you can do that when we get into the specific portion. But if we give too much in the beginning, it's lost on them. Right, so you're going to brief it here, and then when we're done with the wall ball skill, you're going to bring them in and say, let's get some eyes on what we think we're going to do. Go get your ball, let's do some practice reps. Cap it, we're done. Go to the kettlebell swing, do what we need to do, change your weight. Are we feeling good? Great, we cap it. So you're trying to answer questions here about scaling for these movements while you're in that skill section. Then in here, I recommend that you do what I call a dry run. And it doesn't, the only time I don't do a dry run or a practice round is if I've screwed my timeline. And I'm like, sorry guys, I went way long. We don't have time to do a practice run, but a couple of reasons why this is important. One is, it gives the athletes an understanding of what's happening. Today's easy, it's back and forth, but if you've got something that's got 4 movements or more, and there's all kinds of descending rep schemes, it's nice for them to just get a feel for it. More important than that, 2 things. One, it's a warm-up. Like when we say 3, 2, 1, go, you should be ready to go, and you shouldn't be like, wow, my quad's starting to feel tight at 25 reps in. Your legs, the blood should be flowing. When I played for the Irish team, I used to hate warming up. We would honestly do like a full-on workout before we started the game. We'd be doing all kinds of line drills, and then we'd do sprints across the field. Like I was sweating, my heart rate was up. But then when the game started, I'd already got that first wind, and now I'm into it. And you know, it's like when you don't warm up right, you're doing a 5-rounder, and you're like, get to your 3rd round, and you're like, oh man, I feel good. Your first 2 rounds, you're still warming up. So this is hard too, because I'm a lazy warm-upper. So if someone's like, all right, we're gonna do 12 wall balls, we're gonna do 12 swings, 6 and 6. This is what's gonna happen. You want me to do what? I'll waste all my bullets before the workout. But if you give them a 12 and a 6, you might get an 8 and a 4. You know, but they're also, remember this, not as big of a deal with this workout. Let's go back to that snatch. We've given them an expectation of what we want them to do. It's 185, 125, and let's just say it's 5 reps around, and it's going to be singles. And I'm like, all right, you're going to do 3 snatch, you're going to do 3 handstand push-up, 2 snatch, 2 handstand push-up. And I see them get set up on that bar, and they do their snatch, and they drop it, and then they're like, I'm like, all right, that weight's too heavy for today. Because yes, it's singles, but it should be a quick drop, shake it off, go again, and we're gonna lose the intent. So you're assessing them. You're assessing them at the load that they think is the right load for them, and they might not know. A lot of the times they don't know. I can't tell you how many times I've thought it was a good call, and I got into the practice round and I'm like, ooh, I should probably go a little lighter, or go a little heavier. So 1, it's the flow. 2, they are feeling out the weight that they think is a good idea. And 3, you're assessing if the weight they have is the right idea. So you own the middle on what you want to do for your practice run, but it's pretty important one. Does that make sense? So if that's the case with the dry run in here, we've just pushed some things back, and we probably have like 8 minutes in here for the warm-up, or 7 minutes. Again, we're going to steal from that general. I will say before we move into this, real quick, the general warm-up's very important. Even though we program it last, it's super important. You tell me why, actually. Why is it important?
It's good to warm up the joints, work the mobility.
Yeah. Yep, warming, getting people moving. But where are they coming from?
9
Who
degrees.
knows?
Yeah.
Right? They could have been sat at their desk. If it's early morning, they've just woke up probably and they're just discombobulated. If it's late at night, they might have been sat in a chair all day. We don't know, so it really is important. But what you're thinking for general warm-ups is it doesn't just always have to be these line drills. You can get creative. I think if I coach the class at noon today, I'm going to have them do like a bunch of jumping jacks and burpee over their partners. That's it. And they can go as fast or slow as they want, but have you ever done 100 jumping jacks in a row?
Yeah.
It's so hard. It really, I used to be like, do jumping jacks instead of double unders. I'm like, that's stupid, that's really easy. And I did them. I'd rather do double unders any day of the week. It's hard, but you're hot, you get hot. And then we do the burpee because it's taking their hips through range of motion. They're getting into the shoulders. They can step, they can jump, but it's quick. It's like 3 minutes. And then we can hold them in the bottom of a squat and assess if people can get that depth, and then take them through some squats and layer in with the ball, and then the timing. I was doing with Lauren, some push press, some timing on the way up, on the way down. All right, let's do some 2 10 reps on you. Okay, now go change your weight. Let's do like 15 reps with that ball. Like, we have to make sure we're getting enough reps in so we can assess. And I'll come back to the specific warm up in a second. But it's important, that general warm up. Questions?
Can you speak to, you said it, you and I talked at length about it, but you just said wall ball, cap it, and then go kettlebell swing, cap it. Can you define cap it for
Yeah.
everybody else that wasn't in that conversation?
Was that not clear?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
you and I went in depth on
Cap it. Yeah, got it.
Cap
What
it.
does that mean? Okay, so cap it. What does this mean? I'll answer that, but through a different route.
Okay.
So now in here, this is your what we call the specific warm-up. It's honestly the hardest, not the hardest, but the most time-consuming area of the lesson plan, because you're gonna now bring purpose to what you're doing. And this is where we talk about CrossFit being an art. Like, you're gonna curate what you want to happen. It's beautiful. It's like you're taking this piece of clay and you're molding it exactly where you want it to go. So I'm not gonna focus on the kettlebell swing, I'm focused on the wall ball. Warm up the squat. You could even do a couple of push-ups if you wanted to, but I would honestly do maybe this in the general warm-up. Warm up the squat, him with a couple of front squats. They could do a little push press, and then we go into the wall ball. This is all done on the floor here. When we go to the wall, obviously we have to go over to the wall. What are some of the most common errors that we see in a wall ball?
Not going below parallel.
Depth. Okay, what else? Toey.
Timing.
Chest drop.
Chest drop. Yep, so we've got like an immature squat.
Pressing early,
Do we see pressing? Who said that? Was
not
it you,
standing
Carrie?
up all the way to press.
I find maybe you're right. The lighter the ball, the easier it is to do that. But I think if you have a heavy ball, it's really, and the reason why I'm saying it is because I had to demo it once, pressing early with a 14-pound ball, and I couldn't do it. Maybe because I'm a weak duckling, but I was like coming out, and I tried to get to here and like throw it, and I couldn't get it to the target. So it might happen, especially with lighter weights. But what is even maybe more common than that?
Maybe they're not opening up their hips all the way. Which
I think they open up their hips because they never just do this, right? They usually do,
yeah.
and they might be a little early press.
Come down too soon.
Coming down too soon,
So the descent.
the descent, and we talked about it in the back here, we normally see this, the ball's in the air, say the ball's here, and I've started squatting. Now, if I send my hips back, where is my chest gonna go right now? It's forward. So when I squat early, I don't squat early correctly. I'm not like, oh, the ball's coming, I'm gonna go like, why would I not do that?
Because you have to catch a ball.
A ball had hit me, or the ball, I'd have to go chase it. So what am I gonna do incorrectly in order to catch that ball?
Squat forward.
I'm doing this. Because I'm trying to stay upright, so my knees are going forward. And even this is not the worst thing. There's nothing in my hands. I'm here. What happens though is we don't then catch it and then sit, we just keep riding that puppy all the way down into the toes. And that's a root cause of why they're toey in the bottom of the wall ball. They squat too early. And it doesn't have to be the ball must be in my hands and then I can squat and only squat. You can do it. You can definitely catch it a little closer down, but the hips have to be going back and the weight has to stay back in the heels. And it's just really hard to do if you're down there too soon. So that would be something I'm like, okay, well, let's create a drill so that they can learn and I can see. You tell me. We've talked about the wall ball. I'm just going to put an arrow going up because we basically take this push press, we go over to the wall, and now what do we do? Go. I'm just working on the way up. Hips to hands. And I'm going to catch it. And I'm stopping here because I don't care about what happens on the way down. I don't want them to get distracted by that complexity, because it's a lot. So we're just going to focus on fast hips, throw, catch, pause. Go. Go. And then as a coach, I'm just here. And I know our names, so I'm like, hey, Houston, nice job, fast hips, good hands, here we go, ready, go. Ooh, Shelby, you press that a little early. Okay, delay that press a little bit, so you're right off to the side. I'm not focused on anything else other than the hips and the hands, because that's what I just told them to think about. Does that make sense? It's like you go away. It'd be like me assessing your classes, and I'm like, all right, Sarah, I know you're working on your group management here. You're working on your commands, meaning how you're going to call the rep. And then you come back to me and you're like, how was it? And I'm like, well, I really think you were missing like loss of lumbar at the bottom of the squat. And you're like, but I wasn't focused on that. Like, you get really upset. So if I'm an athlete in a class and I'm focusing on what you just asked me to do, but then I give you something else, then I'll be like, well, that's not where my brain was. My brain was in my hips because you put it there. That doesn't mean you can't do some of the little corrections, but you ask them for something, you look for it, you give feedback. That's the template. Hey guys, we're gonna do this. This is the call. This is what you're thinking about. And internally, I'm like, this is what I'm gonna look for. Again, simple, not easy. So on the way down, what do you think would be a good progression? I remember I'm assessing the ability for them to try and get the ball in their hands before their hips go back.
To toss, catch, pause, go down again.
So throw it, catch it, and then down on their own. Yeah, I like that. So tell me how that looks.
Well, I just took Lauren's class and she did that, so.
Yeah, no, it's good because it's good and it makes sense. But Lauren,
Yeah.
what did we run into in a couple of the classes with the commands? What happened?
They were all over the place.
Lauren was like, why are they not doing what I want them to do? Why are they not? And I'm like, man, at CrossFit New England for 3 months, I would tell them to stand, others would sit. I'd tell them to sit, others would stand. And in my mind, I'm like, why are they not doing what I want them to do? It's because I just wasn't clear in what I was asking them to do. So I love that, Kara. That would be, okay. So we can, what do we say?
Show it.
Show it
Show
first.
it and say, try this 5 times or 3 reps or something on your own. Try it.
In fact, I'm gonna do it here. Show it. Let's stick with this, I like it. What do we do when we show something, or what do we not do when we show something? No talking. Now, at the level 2, it's funny, people leave there at level 2 and they're like, they told me I must never do this. That's not the case. What we're saying is, if you're a talker and you're giving them everything as you're doing the movement, all right guys, we're gonna have a rack position, palms on the ball, fingers to the sky, tuck your elbows in, tighten your belly, ready, and we're gonna sit the hips back, push the knees out, stay back in the heels, go all the way below parallel, push your knees out, you're gonna stand, then you're gonna throw, and then you're gonna, it's all right, but it's too much. So that's why we tell people at the level 2, just show it. All right guys, this is what it's gonna look like, ready? And you're like just showing them a couple of reps. Now the call is going to be this. Go. Actually, let's go. See, yeah, already. If I did that, what would have happened?
people would have not known what to do.
Exactly, right? So what was our progression again? we were gonna throw it up, catch it and pause.
It's like a mini
Okay.
toss, yeah. Okay.
So we show it, the call is go. We don't need a reset. Go. Go. Okay. That's it. What if we did 2 pauses? What if we were like, okay, we're going to pause them at the bottom and we're going to pause them at the catch? It's going to be 2 goes. Go. What happened?
You missed the second go.
Right? So can you see how important it is when you're thinking about where to hold them, what the command needs to be? It's a lot. I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh, that didn't work. In my head, it made sense, but now I'm out here on the floor, everyone's up and down like, you know, rabbits. So, go. This is a simple one. Go. Let me stop. That's it. Then what happens? What do we tell them?
Try a few reps on their own.
Before that,
Correction.
you're gonna call reps. What do you have to tell them before we call reps?
Correction.
What did you say?
Give feedback. Or
Yeah.
correction.
So what does that mean though, Shelby? What are you gonna say?
You're focusing on whatever cue you just gave.
That's it. The focus. What is the focus? So hey guys, this is what we're gonna do. The call's gonna be go, go. And all you're focusing on is fast hips and punch. Fast hips and punch. And then you go around and you do your corrections. Make sense? So when you do if you're coaching today, think about a command that's gonna work and then practice it. And it's gonna, you're gonna go through so many iterations of teaching a wall ball that you'll be amazed at how many times you can do this. You can even have in the tempo. I'm gonna say go, you're gonna do 5 reps by yourself. For every time you catch the ball, you do a 3-second descent to the bottom. Go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you on the middle on that. Make sense? Then what happens here? Give them a test. Can they go all the way down? Can they hit the target? With the ball, they want to work on using the workout for like 15 reps. That's your test. And this is what I mean by cap it. So right here, cap it means this is a bring it in moment. Remember I said I had 2 commands, I'd bring it in and listen on up. So if I was doing my wall ball progressions, and listen up would be like, all right guys, listen up, eyes on me. Next progression is, and they don't have to move, they just have to listen. They just turn wherever they'll listen. But now I'm done with the wall ball. They've changed the ball out, they've done the practice reps. All right guys, bring it in. And just like this actually, I thought, okay, this is the confirmation that we all have what we need. Okay, we've got 75 reps up here, or we've got 50 reps, whatever you're doing. Is the ball in your hand a ball that you can do for about 25 to 30 reps in a row, where you could probably drop it and then take a couple of quick breaths and pick it up and do another 10? And they won't always know, but you're saying that's the weight that I mean. So hands up, who's going to go all the reps and the RX load that's on the board, or however you guys brief your A and B. They'll go up. Okay, who's going to do the RX ball but put the reps down? A couple of hands go up. Who's going to put the load down and put the reps down? And you're not like having conversations there, you're just getting a general idea of who was doing what, and maybe I'm like, this crazy, she thinks she's doing that. I'm going to grab her before the workout. Or I'm like, oh, Jacqueline, way too light for you today. Make sure I grab you, And then you have a conversation with them. And you don't go to them and say, you're doing this, but you're like, hey, Mindy, I saw you put your hand up for that heavier ball. And I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm like, hey, Jacqueline, so you put your hand up for the lighter ball. Is there a reason that you wanted to go lighter? And that's what you do. And you're hustling in that break time. Okay? Before we've get to this break though, we do the same thing on the kettlebell swing, then we cap it. All right, everyone looks, and today it's pretty simple with the swing. It's like everyone's gonna do all the reps with the weight that they have. We're good to go, I'm checking in. It'd be different if it was double unders, right? How hard is it to scale double unders for everyone?
Kind of hard.
Not hard like, okay, you can do less reps, you can do attempts, you can do practice time, you can do singles. Not hard that, but to get to check in on people, because it's all over, right? So that when we cap the skill session of the double under, you're asking, all right, who's gonna do double unders, all the reps? Who's gonna do double unders and cut the reps? Who's gonna do attempts? Who's going to practice for a minute? Who's gonna do singles? All these. Who's gonna do a ski erg? Who's gonna do a slam ball? Who's whatever other things are? And you're looking. Because why is it important that we deal with that right here, and then we deal with it right here?
So in the workout, you don't have to go and tell them to do something different. Hey, you look like you're struggling, so we better take those reps down instead of just giving it to them from the beginning.
Yeah, so you get them at the right stimulus. But in terms of group management, why is it?
Tap out.
Oh.
Gotta get down to practice.
Oh, good luck.
Thank you.
Make sure you know your commands. Not what I was telling you. Yes, but think about a bigger class. Can we put out some fires here and put out some fires here, so when we get to this portion, we're not bottlenecked by people coming up to you, hey, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And you might not have that right now. Your people might not come up to you in the break, but once we start talking about how to deliver an absolute on-fire intro, they're gonna have questions. They're gonna have maybe more questions than they have now. I don't know. Do they have questions for you? Do they have a lot?
Yeah,
Yeah, it depends.
Depends on the class.
Yeah.
So you're kind of calling this cap it as an opportunity to assess what everybody's doing, so then in the break, you already know, instead of people coming to you, you can go to them.
Yes. Yeah. So this cap it is just what Tyler kind of labeled it. I just called it like scale people. But I like that idea. Let's cap what we need to do here. We're putting a cap on it, and we're moving on to the next thing. Doesn't mean we won't open the cap again here and have another discussion. But if I can deal with 5 people here and 5 people here, I might only have to deal with 4 or 3 people here or
Or
something.
handle on whatever.
Yeah, and that eye contact with people is really valuable just in that closed setting.
You also mentioned that like part of that cap it too was like, all right, after you do that break, like, hey, bring it in. Who's doing what? Cool. Go do 15 unbroken wall ball. Like,
Yeah.
And that's like before the dry run, but it's like a moment where you can like really assess like, oh shit, like they shouldn't be doing that. They can't even do 15, right? So it's like another chance for you to observe it, other than the dry run.
Yeah, and it's okay if it feels hard too. You do 15 wall balls when your heart rate's pretty low. That's okay, let them know, like, that's all right. You went from 0 to 15 wall balls, your heart rate will be high. But it's different if they're just getting buried after rep 3, or they're not being able to get depth or anything like that. But hopefully, you guys have done your assessment and homework here, where they are getting deep enough and they are having the right weight. So it should be a little easier. When they hit the dry run, give them something that's going to get their heart rates up. They have 5 minutes rest before we hit the main event, so we should be fine there. What else did I want to speak? What, do you guys have any more questions?
What can you give an example of like what it means to get your heart rate up? So like if I went 3 of each, that's not nearly enough, right? But if I do 20 of each, that's a little different.
Yeah. So obviously, depending on the workout, you do the amount of reps that's going to not bury you, right? So if it's something like a heavy snatch, you're not going to do a load of reps of that, but enough that you can get a good assessment. So if it was, like I said, 5 heavy snatch in the workout, I want them to do at least 3. I'd like them to do at least half of those reps so I can get a good sense. But you have to be hot going into the workout. And all you can do is give them the opportunity to get there. Not everybody wants to get real hot, and that's where if they do 5 reps instead of 10, that's okay. But you have to at least set the gauntlet down and be like, look, let you know, we're going to do a mini round here. We're actually doing like a little mini workout so that you can see if you've made the right call. But depending on what it is, like today, I would have them do, I'd probably have them do a 12 and 6. Yeah, I know, it seems like a lot, but
Like you said, you might get 8 and 4.
it might get in for, and also 12 wall balls should, at the weight that you have, should not be a problem. Like that should not bury you. You know, it's 12 out of 75 or 50. If it's burying you, or if you're like, that's gonna kick my butt, then it's maybe a little too heavy for today. Maybe, or we keep the weight and we put the reps down if someone's trying to get a little stronger and get exposure to that heavier weight. But either way, 12 should not. Now 20, that's a lot. 15's a lot, I think that's too much. But I don't think 6 is enough. Like a 6 and a 3 for this workout is not enough. And again, there's no hard and fast rule on that, but.
And then one more piece I wanted to highlight. So like you're a super experienced coach, super high level. How often do you actually physically write out a lesson plan?
Every time.
Every time.
Like literally, because otherwise I will want to teach everything. I'm such a teaching nerd, and I can't just, I go through the whole thing. I go through the intended stimulus, how long things should take, and the reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing that day, and even the general warm-up, I need an idea of what I'm doing. There's rarely, I was talking to Mindy, I'm like, there's days where it's one of those days. Stuff, life is happening. And I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna teach what I know based on my experience, and I'm gonna have a lot of fun, and I'm gonna be honest about it. I'm like, guys, I don't have a plan today, but you're gonna have a great workout. I had one heck of a night, you know, or one heck of a morning or something. I'm human too. But 90% of the time, I'd say, it's not like 99%, but 90% of the time I write some form of a lesson plan. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll just pop it right here. If it's a lot and I really want to get into details, but I'll have the plan, which is like Goodwill Hunting. It's like, and then I'll make another plan and like simplify it. And then I make another plan, which is just timestamps and like key progressions. Yeah. So it can take me anywhere depending on the workout and where we are in the journey. Some of my plans will take me like 40 minutes and some 10 minutes. But it matters to me because of who's coming through the door. Like they're coming here to get better, and I'm not doing them a service if I'm just going off what I know and just like winging it. And they'll never know until they get the best of you. Once they get the best of you, they'll know. And everyone in this room can probably give just a little extra. And the lesson plan stuff is really fun. You get to choose your adventure where you want to focus that day. Maybe some of you are like, you know what, Denise, I don't want to focus on the wall today. I think I want to focus on the swing. I think that's where great. Make a progression, make it purposeful, be excited about it. Let them know that you were researching some Jeff Marto, you know, RKC, kettlebell stuff, I don't know. But have fun with it. If you're having fun and you're passionate and you're excited, they will be excited. Even general warm-ups, have some fun. Play, you know, don't play games with adults. Terrifying. If adults sprint first thing, there's going to be hamstring pops everywhere. It's the scariest thing. But you can play some games, yeah. So to come full circle, when we have a lesson plan, you've got your 60 minutes. You want to shave off time when you think the non-negotiables are always going to be in here, whether that's here or not, still at the same time. And here, 45 minutes, how long for the workout, take some off for the break, prioritize what needs the most attention based on time, safety, performance. Go down until you're like, okay, the burpee needs the least attention today. You might even go through the burpee. Oh, I only have 2 minutes for my general warm-up. Well, you know what gets you warm real fast? 20-second spurts on the assault bike. You go, I go. You'll get warm quick. 100 jumping jacks, yeah, and that's where you're at. And then if the workout was longer, really short, you can punch out your general warm-up a little bit. Do the CrossFit warm-up. Do you know the CrossFit warm-up? Do you remember it? It's like 3 rounds. It's actually a bit of a workout, so you can modify it. It's 3 rounds, of all these movement functions like a squat, a pull, push, a pull up, push up, hip extension, sit up, and a Samson stretch. And you do 10 to 15 reps, 3 rounds. It's a 15-minute thing, so if your workout's real short, like a 5-minute workout, and you don't need a lot of time to build up and the skills, you can flesh that. People get better. Do a CrossFit warm-up every day. Do a burger warm-up every day. Yeah, you'll get better.
What would be like your thoughts on, so say we threw in 2 other movements today, right? Like there's 4 movements to have. Maybe one's a burpee, maybe one's a pull up, wall balls and kettlebells, something like that.
Yeah.
And you chose to really focus on 2 of them, right? And then the other 2 is kind of be like, hey, here's what it is. If you have it, you're doing it today. Like, you know what, like
Yep.
just,
You got 4 movements, let's call it pull up, burpee, wall ball, kettlebell swing. And this is where you have to look at your membership. What do we do a lot of? What are people mostly familiar with? And then you go through order of importance, which is the riskiest. Could be skill level, it could be loading, all the way down to which is the most least threatening, burpee, rowing. Like rowing technique, you could do like a week seminar on rowing technique, but have you ever seen anyone get hurt on a rower? Watch now, everyone's dies this week on rowing. Sorry, I jinxed your gym, but I've never seen anyone get hurt on a rower. Does it make my eyes bleed sometimes when I see people rowing out of order and their knees caving in? And yes, but hey, you can still get fitter moving that way on the rower. You cannot allow that on a snatch, on a thruster, on a deadlift. So you say, all right, we're going to get on the rower. You guys are going to row 500 meters. I'm going to come around and chat to you about where you should be for your time. When you get off, you're going to do 10 burpees. That's 2 of the 4 movements, and we're not really going to touch it again after that. And I would blend, honestly, the specific and general together.
for that, maybe
Yeah.
hit those in the general, something like
Yeah.
that, yeah.
And I think that's a really good question, Cara, because we get it a lot at the level 2. They say, well, I can't do this for everything. And you don't have to either. You just pick one thing for that day. And then as you get better, you might want to do 2 if it's in the cards. But remember who's on the receiving end of all this. It's your people that came here to play. So they've got their significant other in their ear all day, they've got their kids, they've got their bosses, they've got their, employees, and now they have to listen to us, be militant. Like, we have to blend that fun, so that's why we've always got to put them at the front of what we do. Like, what are they coming to us for? Who are they? And I got so much more for you on the next level of that, where you can kind of like member profiles on who they are, like what's their job, how far do they commute, how many kids do they have, like what's their status like in general, because all that affects how well these guys connect to you as a coach. I think honestly, what was it, Maya Angelou said, people don't forget, what did it say? People don't forget who they,
How you made them feel, that one?
they won't forget something, but they'll never forget how you made them feel, or something.
Don't
It's
forget
true.
your name.
Yeah, I'm really bad at telling. If it's like a movie quote, I got it.
Yeah.
If it's like some amazing philosophical person. Anyway, so did that help? Is that helpful? Is this stuff that you guys can just go start working on now?
Yeah.
Okay, keep it simple. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take a picture. You got questions across the day? Hit me up. I'll text you back later. Let me know if you just anything. Quick text, I'll give you a quick call or whatnot. But don't let it overwhelm you. Enjoy it. It's a lot in the beginning, but it brings coaching to the next level from an enjoyment standpoint for you. A wall ball is, we do a lot of them, but you can really have some fun with it. It's not just like squat and throw the ball, all kinds of stuff. Good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, wait, can I take a picture of you guys?